What if I told you that some of the deadliest weapons from World War II could absolutely wreck shop on today's battlefield, while billion-dollar modern weapon systems are collecting dust? Yeah, you heard that right. We're not talking nostalgia here. We're talking about real combat effectiveness, soldier ingenuity, and why sometimes the simplest tool is the right tool for the job. Today we're diving into the weird world where 80-year-old technology meets 21st century warfare. And trust me, the results are gonna surprise you. We'll cover the legendary World War II weapons that soldiers still want in their hands, the improvised gear that's saving lives right now, and the modern million-dollar mistakes that couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. Let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun. Designed by John Moses Browning in 1918, refined in 1921, and still in service today. That's over 100 years of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Ma Deuce fires .50 BMG rounds that can punch through engine blocks, light armor, and pretty much anything that thinks it's having a good day. With an effective range of 1,800 meters, this beast has been mounted on everything from Jeeps to helicopters to the tops of Humvees rolling through Fallujah. Here's the kicker. The military has tried to replace it multiple times. The XM806, the XM312, all failed. Why? Because the M2 just works. It's reliable, maintainable, and when you absolutely need to destroy something 2,000 meters away, Ma Deuce answers the call. In Afghanistan, soldiers regularly used M2s to engage Taliban positions in the mountains. One gunner in Kunar province reportedly held off an entire assault with sustained fire from an M2, buying time for his squad to reposition. The gun didn't jam. It didn't overheat catastrophically. It just kept sending freedom downrange, 1.50 caliber round at a time. Even in Ukraine right now, both sides are using Browning M2s and its Soviet equivalent, the DSHK. These are weapons from the World War II era, absolutely dominating a modern drone-filled battlefield. Why? Because when a quadcopter costs $500 and a .50 caliber round costs $5, the math works out pretty well. Now let's talk about the rifle that General Patton called the greatest battle implement ever devised, the M1 Garand. Semi-automatic, .30-06 rounds, that iconic ping when the end block clip ejects. This rifle gave American infantrymen a massive advantage in World War II because while everyone else was working bolt actions, GIs were slinging lead like they had a cheat code. Could it work today? Absolutely. In fact, designated marksman rifles used by modern militaries are basically the same concept. Accurate, powerful, semi-automatic rifles for precision fire. The M14, which saw extensive use in Iraq and Afghanistan, is literally just an M1 Garand that went to college. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember bolt-action rifles? Those outdated World War II weapons like the Springfield 1903 or the Mosin Nagant? Snipers still use bolt actions. The most lethal confirmed kill in history, 3,540 meters by a Canadian JTF-2 sniper in 2017, was made with a bolt-action Macmillan TAC-50. Why? Because bolt actions are simple, reliable, and inherently accurate. No gas system to mess up your barrel harmonics. No moving parts besides the bolt. Just you, the rifle, and the target having the worst day of their life. In the Donbass region, Ukrainian and separatist forces have been photographed using actual Mosin Nagant rifles from World War II stockpiles. These 80-year-old rifles are still punching tickets because accuracy doesn't have an expiration date. Now let's talk about the really wild stuff. Improvised weapons. Because sometimes the best weapon isn't in the armory. It's in your imagination and whatever's lying around. World War II soldiers were masters of improvisation. American GIs in Normandy faced hedgerows that stopped tanks dead. What did they do? They welded scrap metal from German beach obstacles onto tank fronts, creating rhino tanks that could plow through hedgerows like angry metal bulls. Field expedient? Absolutely. Effective? Changed the entire Normandy campaign. Fast forward to Iraq, IEDs were the #1 killer of American troops. The military's answer? Spend billions on MRAP vehicles. A great solution, eventually. But you know what troops did in the meantime? They welded scrap metal and sandbags to Humvees. They called it hillbilly armor, and while it looked like something from Mad Max, it saved lives. Here's a story that'll blow your mind. In Afghanistan, one unit couldn't get aerial reconnaissance assets because they were all tasked elsewhere. So what did they do? They bought commercial quadcopter drones with their own money and mounted GoPros to them. Boom. Instant ISR capability for about $1,500. The Marine Corps was so impressed, they basically copied the idea and spent millions developing essentially the same thing. Ukrainian forces right now are dropping grenades from $500 DJI drones bought off Amazon. They're modifying them with 3D printed release mechanisms. These makeshift bomber drones have destroyed Russian tanks worth millions of dollars. That's not just improvisation, that's asymmetric warfare at its finest. Or how about this? Syrian rebels created the Hell Cannon, basically a giant propane tank filled with explosives and scrap metal launched from a welded steel tube. It's medieval siege warfare with modern materials, and it was terrifyingly effective in urban combat. The lesson? Soldiers with duct tape and determination will always find a way to solve problems, usually faster and cheaper than any procurement office. Now let's flip the script and talk about modern weapons that have absolutely face-planted in real combat. The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. Price tag? Around $80 million per plane, with total program costs over $1.7 trillion. That's trillion with a T. The idea was one plane for all services. The reality? It's had so many problems it makes your X look stable. Early F-35s couldn't fly near thunderstorms because the fuel system might explode. The software has required constant updates. The gun didn't work properly for years. And in combat exercises, older F-16 and F-18 have sometimes outperformed them in dogfights. Is it a capable plane? Sure. Was it worth the cost and delays? Ask any fighter pilot who's still flying a 40-year-old F-16. The Zumwalt-class destroyer. Each ship cost $4.4 billion. The advanced gun system it was designed around? The ammo costs $800,000 per round, so they canceled the ammunition program. Now it's a $4.4 billion ship with fancy guns that can't shoot. The Army's Future Combat Systems program was canceled after spending $18 billion because the vehicles were too light to survive IEDs. Meanwhile, troops were welding scrap metal to Humvees and getting better protection. The XM-29 OICW, Objective Individual Combat Weapon, was supposed to revolutionize infantry combat with a rifle that shot regular bullets and smart airburst grenades. It weighed 18 pounds loaded, had ridiculous recoil, and was so complex it made soldiers nostalgic for the simple reliability of the M4. The program was canceled after spending hundreds of millions. Here's the thing. Complexity is the enemy of reliability. The more moving parts, the more things break. The more electronics, the more things fry. The more software, the more bugs. And when you're getting shot at, you don't want to troubleshoot code. You want to send rounds downrange. So which World War II weapons would actually be effective today? Let's run through the list. The M2 Browning. Already covered, still in service, still awesome. The Bazooka and Panzerfaust. Simple, man-portable anti-tank weapons. Modern RPGs are basically the same concept with better warheads. Even Javelin missiles, which cost $178,000 each, are doing the same job. Kill tanks. The difference is you can buy about 300 RPG-7s for the price of one Javelin. Artillery. The M101 105mm howitzer from World War II, still used by 30-plus countries. Why? Because lobbing high explosive shells at the enemy never goes out of style. Ukraine has proven that artillery is still the king of battle. Old Soviet D-30s from the 1960s are destroying modern armored vehicles daily. Mortars. The 81mm mortar hasn't fundamentally changed since World War II. It's still a tube, still drops shells on bad guys, still fits in the back of a truck. Modern mortars have better sights and precision ammo, but the basic concept is identical. Submachine guns. The Thompson, the Sten, the MP40. Close quarters? These would still mess you up. Modern PDWs like the MP7 or P90 are just refinements of the same concept. In urban combat or trench warfare, hello Ukraine, a simple submachine gun is often better than a full-length rifle. The Flamethrower. Okay, hear me out. We don't use them anymore for ethical reasons, but in terms of pure tactical effectiveness for clearing bunkers and tunnels, nothing says abandon that position quite like fire. Modern thermobaric weapons are basically flamethrowers that went to engineering school. Grenades, the Mk2 pineapple grenade would work just fine today. Modern grenades are safer and more consistent, but a World War II frag grenade in a trench would still ruin someone's whole day. So what's the takeaway from all this? It's not that old weapons are better. It's that effective weapons are timeless. The principles of warfare haven't changed. Move, shoot, communicate, and make the other poor bastard die for his country. Simple weapons work because they're maintainable, reliable, and soldiers can actually use them under stress. Complex weapons fail when they're over-engineered, require extensive training, need specialized maintenance, or try to do everything at once. The Ma Deuce has lasted 100+ years because it does one thing incredibly well: puts .50 caliber rounds on target. The F-35 has struggled because it's trying to be a fighter, bomber, close air support platform, and reconnaissance asset all at once. Improvised weapons work because necessity is the mother of invention, and soldiers are creative, determined, and way smarter than any PowerPoint presentation gives them credit for. Give a grunt duct tape, some spare parts, and a problem to solve, and they'll MacGyver something that works better than a committee-designed solution that took 5 years and $1 billion to develop. The conflicts in Ukraine, Syria, and Yemen have proven that low-tech solutions often beat high-tech problems. Drones dropping grenades, modified civilian trucks with machine guns, ancient artillery systems punching way above their weight class. War doesn't care about your budget or your development timeline. War cares about what works when bullets start flying. So the next time someone tells you that old weapons are obsolete, remember, the M2 Browning would like a word. So would the bolt-action sniper rifle. So would the 105mm howitzer. And so would every soldier who ever welded scrap metal to a vehicle and lived to tell about it. Sometimes the best weapon is the one that actually works when you need it most. And sometimes, just sometimes, your grandpa's gun really is better than $1 billion boondoggle. If you enjoyed this deep dive into weapons that refuse to die and modern failures that refuse to work, annihilate that like button and subscribe for more military history and analysis. Drop a comment with your favorite World War II weapon or the biggest modern military procurement failure you can think of. Stay dangerous, stay tactical, stay curious, and remember, when in doubt, keep it simple and keep shooting.